Hey guys, Quiv the Lazy Geek here and welcome back to the channel. If you've been following me for a while, I think you know that I like using the software called N.I.N.A to control all of my telescope, camera, mount, etc. And it's not a secret that I was for quite a while a contributor to N.I.N.A as well. So it is very close to my heart. Of course, I've used other methods as well. I've used the ASI Air. I still have the StellarMate Pro that I've presented on the channel before that can also control the equipment. But I also have a little tiny mini PC on top that runs N.I.N.A to control everything. And N.I.N.A is both compatible with so many devices, very powerful. You can really do anything you want with it, while at the same time being simple to use and reliable, although it does have a learning curve. But one of the things that I've noticed, and that I'm guilty of as well, is whenever I use N.I.N.A, I find myself reaching for my laptop. So I can have my laptop like on my lap, and then I'm controlling N.I.N.A that is actually running on the mini PC on top of my scope, and I'm using remote desktop to do that. Now I could be using Chrome remote desktop, I could be using TeamViewer, although I don't recommend it because TeamViewer will end up thinking that you're using it commercially and so it's no longer free. But most of the time I use Windows Remote Desktop, which is, in my experience, faster than the other methods because it relies on the direct computer-to-computer connection. But what you don't really see me doing a lot is, instead of using a PC to control another PC to control my scope, it's using a smartphone to control my PC, to control my scope. And the idea is exactly the same. We're going to run remote desktop on my smartphone, and from my smartphone, I'm able to control the whole computer, so I can then control my mount. So it's not quite as intuitive or simple as the ASI Air. The interface is still the PC interface, so it's not adapted for like a touchscreen interface on a smartphone, but I found recently it is extremely workable, and I've been using my equipment almost exclusively like that when I'm using N.I.N.A. So I don't bother with my laptop anymore, I just do it from the smartphone. And today I want to run you through the steps that I did for that. So if you're using N.I.N.A or you're using a PC and you want to have like remote access to it from your phone in a way that is fairly easy to use, then this video is for you. I'll have chapters down below, of course, for you to navigate through the sections that interest you. Obviously, the very first step is going to be configuring remote desktop so that you can actually have it on your control PC, and the control PC is accepting remote desktop connections. And at the same time, we want to make sure that it actually works by connecting from another PC to the PC on top of your scope. Now I'm going to go through all of the process, and I'm actually going to reuse parts of an old video. So I'll put that now so you can see how to do this whole setup. So currently I have the Wi-Fi network connected to my home network. So I have internet connection, and what I'll want to do is first set up remote desktop so I can access this computer remotely. So for that, I'm first opening the File Explorer. I'm going to right click on this PC, look at Properties, and I want to look at my Windows version. If you have the Melee series, you'll see that your Windows version is the Pro version, which means that you can basically make this PC act as a remote desktop server without doing anything more. If you have the Home version in there, then you'll need to do something more, which is install the remote desktop wrapper. So to do that, you can actually just open your web browser, search for RDP wrapper, and click on this link. I'll also put the links down in the description. You want to download, I prefer the zip file. And once it's downloaded, you can go to your downloads folder. You can extract all. And this will create this. What you can do is double click on rdpwinst, or you can right click on the install script and say run as administrator. Since I already have Windows 11 Pro, I will not be doing that. But if you have Home, doing this should then, after you restart the PC, let you, actually maybe even without a PC restart, but should let you go to the next step, which is what we're going to do. We're going to go to the Windows menu. I'm going to search for remote, and you can see we get remote desktop settings here. So let's go to the remote desktop settings. And I'm just going to turn on remote desktop. And it asks me to confirm, which I will do. And here we have remote desktop turned on, and we have this weird name for the computer that I can use to connect to remote desktop. I'll also open this remote desktop users part. My username, Quiv, already has access, which is good, but I'll need to do something else. I want to, again, click on the Windows button, search for GP Edit, and this will be opening up Edit Group Policy, which I can click. And under Computer Configuration here, I can go to Windows Settings, then Security Settings, then Local Policies, and then Security Options. And in this list that I get on the screen, I will be double-clicking on Accounts, limit local account use of blank passwords to console logon only. And I will set it to disabled and click on Apply and OK. So now we've disabled the limitation that remote desktop can only be accessed by users with password, because I'm not looking for high security. I just want to have a passwordless experience for everything to work together with this astrophotography PC. Now my next step is I want to rename this PC name just to make things a bit easier. So again, I can go to my File Explorer, right-click on PC, go to Properties, and I can click on Rename this PC. My other mini PC is called Mini Astro 1, so I'm going to call this one Mini Astro 2. Here we are. I'm going to click Next. And I'll be just restarting the PC, and it will now have the new name and be connected to my Wi-Fi network and have remote desktop enabled, including for accounts without a password, which means that for the next step of the video, I'll just be accessing this PC remotely just to make sure that it all works. So let me click on Restart Now. So I am now on a different computer and I am ready to get this working. So I am going to search for remote desktop connection. Here it is. I'm going to click this, and in this window, you're going to click on Show Options. And what you want to put is you want to put the name of the computer here. For me, it's Mini Astro 2. It's the name that we just set in the previous step. And of course, I've restarted the mini PC and it is turned on. And in the username, you want to put the name of the computer /Quiv. Well, not Quiv, but your username. So my username on this computer, the Windows account username, is Quiv. It's something that I set up during the Windows 11 initial process, which doesn't allow screen recording, so I didn't capture it, but you should be able to set it up when you first install Windows 11. And this yen sign, by the way, is just with Japanese computers, backslashes appear as yen signs, so this is actually a backslash. You also want to make sure that you are on the same network, so you're connected to the same Wi-Fi router as your mini PC. But if everything is set up, I'm going to set allow me to save credentials, and I'm going to click on connect. Sometimes you'll get an error like this. Don't fret, try again. And now it works. For me, I don't have a password, and as you remember, we allowed the computer to be connected to without any password. So I'm gonna leave the password blank. I am going to check Remember Me and click on OK. Now we get this little warning there. I'll say, don't ask me again, and click on yes. Okay, we get the error again. No fretting. Click connect again. And let's try again, and now it works. Sometimes remote desktop is a bit weird like that, but it works, always works in the end. So now we are on the mini PC that we were just using a moment ago, except I'm connecting to it from another PC. Okay, and now we should be good. So we are ready to use the smartphone to control it to the telescope. So for that, you're going to need the app to connect to it. And we're going to use Microsoft Remote Desktop application that is available on Android and on iPhone as well, although I've never tested it on the iPhone. Okay, and so to access it, you want to open up the App Store. And for me, I just searched for Remote Desktop, and the top result was the Microsoft Remote Desktop app. And you can simply install it and open it. Once you've installed and opened it, you will be granted basically with a blank screen, and using the top right button, we can add a new PC. So I can do that, and you can see it's already looked at my network to find any PC that are listening on remote desktop. And here I have my Quieter 4C, so this is what I'm going to be using. If you don't see your PC, you will need to add manually. And in that case, if you add manually, you need to put in a host name or an IP address. And there are ways to find that out, but I'm not going to go into the details in this video. If you can use the host name, in which case you can simply put the PC name with the host name, just like we did on the desktop PC to control the mini PC. And the user account will be the name of your PC / the name of your user. So for me, Quieter4C / Quiv. But since Remote Desktop has found the PC for me, I'm just going to tap on Quieter4C. And in the user account, I'm going to use, you see I already have it as a choice, Quieter4C / Quiv. If you don't have it, you're just going to add a user account, and you want to put Quieter4C or whatever the host name of your computer is / your username, and then your password within it. But you can see I have it already. And then you have a lot of other options that are available. And one in particular that we may not set right away, but we can play with later, and that we will play with later, is this customized display resolution. We're not going to do it right now. We're just going to check that things connect correctly. So now I'm adding the PC. I click on connect and see what happens. Okay, and after a couple of minutes, you see I am now connected to my PC and I could run N.I.N.A. But one of the things that we can see is that it has adapted to the resolution of my phone. So now it's like in a weird landscape mode, and it's going to make using N.I.N.A very, very difficult. Now, by the way, to control things, you use your finger as a trackpad effectively on the screen to move the mouse, and you can tap to click, double tap, etc. We'll go into the details once I use N.I.N.A later on to schedule a session. You also have a bar at the top that you can move around, and you can tap on the keyboard to make a keyboard appear as well. Okay, but we want to put this in landscape mode, right, to make it a bit more usable. So for that, we need to turn on the auto rotate feature on the phone. So for me, it's in the options there. So I'm going to turn on auto rotate. And now if I set my phone like in landscape mode, there we go. We have the full desktop. But you can see the Remote Desktop app was smart, and it basically resized everything in such a way that everything is very visible to us. But what happens if I open up N.I.N.A? So I can drag my mouse to N.I.N.A, I can double click on N.I.N.A, and you can see the icon is huge. And then when we open up N.I.N.A, it's not going to be super easy to use, because you can see everything is huge. Just to access like all of my options, I need to drag things out. And if I go to imaging tab, which always have like a lot of stuff, it's a very busy tab. I really don't have easy access to all of the features that I would need to have with N.I.N.A. So there is a solution for that. So to do that, I'm gonna just do back on my phone a couple of times. There we go, we are disconnected. And now on my PCs, I can click on the 3 points at the bottom right, click on edit, and now we're going to go and customize the display resolution. Now, typically a good compromise between like size of the icons, so that you can view everything with your eyes without having to squint too much, and usability of N.I.N.A is to say match my device. So I can try that. It gives us a little warning there, so we'll see if that works or not without restarting or logging out and logging back in on the Windows PC. And let's try to connect again. Okay, there we are. And now we have something that is much more usable. We have the whole of N.I.N.A interface available here, and I'm able to go into all of the tabs. In a way, it's actually almost too small for me to see, so I need to squint a little bit, and that's where we could try and set up a real custom resolution to make it a bit easier on the eyes. So in my case here, the option that I suggested to match the phone's resolution might not have been the best. Let's try something else. We can go back to the customize resolution, and you can see there's a last option at the bottom, which is by default basically match this device, but you can edit that as well and say, okay, I want a slightly smaller resolution. For instance, we could try this. If it's a lower resolution, things will appear bigger to us. Then I can save that, and try to connect again and see what happens. And there we are. And this is actually a pretty good compromise. Maybe it's exactly the same as at first. I don't remember. I'll see if it's that when I edit. But it looks like to be a good compromise between, like, size of the icon, so I don't need to squint, and the usability of N.I.N.A on this little screen. And with that, I should be ready to basically program my sequence for imaging tonight. So let's do that together. But before that, if you find my videos helpful, please go down below, like the video, subscribe if you're new to the channel, in which case, welcome, and leave a comment to let us know what you think about this. And all of that truly helps broaden the scope and range of my videos. And if you want to support me even more, and you want to buy anything on Amazon or Agina or High Point Scientific, etc., if you do so after clicking one of the links in my description, it will earn me a small commission at no cost to you. And if you want to be even more generous, you could join my channel as a member. There's a join button next to subscribe, or join my Patreon as a Patreon member. Link is down in the description. And thank you so much, guys, for your support. It truly makes the channel possible. Anyway, let's go and prepare the session for tonight. And here we are connected. I have my whole desktop on my smartphone. I always find it amazing. And we are basically going to use the mouse by just dragging it around. So I can use the mouse by dragging it around. And I have access to a keyboard anytime I like using the keyboard icon. So what I can do is simply go over to N.I.N.A, double click on it by double tapping effectively, just as usual. And you can see now I'm on my camera tab as usual. So I am just going to tap on the connect button and my camera is connected. I can do the same for my filter wheel. So I have the Oasis filter wheel. That's going to be in another video. If you want to learn more about it, you may want to subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, leave a like, etc., etc. So we're going to get to it on the channel. Don't worry about it. Then I want to go to my focuser and just connect it. So we're just connecting everything as usual. My mount, and I'm going to connect the mount. And finally the guider. And there we have it. PhD2 is launched. So I can iconize it. There we go. So now we're basically ready. So what I can do is simply go to my Sky Atlas or whatever and say, for instance, I want to take an image tonight of M51. So let me select M51, validate. So we have the keyboard to do that. I can now hide the keyboard. And we have like the M51 information as usual. And because I've already set up my sequence templates, it's going to be very easy for me to add it to the target sequence. But if you wanted to use like the framing assistant, you can just like tap on set for framing assistant. And then as usual, N.I.N.A will go to the framing assistant. So where we can decide how to well frame the subject. When you go to the framing assistant, as usual in N.I.N.A, you have like it will download an image of the surrounding area for you to double check the framing. And here we are. And we have M51 in the center and the whole field of view is here. Now, what I would typically do is simply go ahead and say like slew and center, or maybe just like slew, so that the camera will be pointing at somewhere around M51. Sorry, I'm pointing like randomly above head. And then I could tap on determine rotation from the camera and it will launch some plate solving to angle that box here on the right with the exact orientation of your camera. And then we would be ready to properly set the framing. But here it's M51. I don't really care. It's a small target. Now, something, by the way, if you want to drag and drop something, you want to do tap, tap, hold, and then move around. So there I'm like moving the thing around, tap, tap, and now I'm holding and dragging around. That's how we can scroll and do various operations like that. And if you're ever on an area where you need to scroll down, you can also use two fingers like that to scroll up and down. Here you can see it allowed me to zoom in without any issue. So that's like the simple stuff there. And now let's say I have my framing all ready, so I can simply like add target to a sequence. And because I have set up my templates already, I can go to the sequencer and say we want to do a sequence template. So that's the template that I have prepared originally. And there we have the sequence template. Now my sequence template, it's more or less 4 narrowband, so I'm going to adjust it for my needs of broadband. So here, as I mentioned, I can tap, tap, hold, and then scroll down to use that little bar. I could be doing a two finger gesture item to scroll up and down. The interesting part is that I want to change the exposure length here, which is 300 seconds. So I can double tap it, click on the keyboard and say, no, actually, it's going to be 30. Oh, and by the way, if you go to the icon here, that little this icon here, and you can also have it as a floating keyboard, which can actually be so much more convenient. So now we have it as a floating keyboard, but you can see I don't need it, so I'm going to close it. And you can see we have set to 30 seconds. At the same time, I don't want to dither every exposure, so I'm going to say like, no, I want to dither every 10 exposures. So here I'm just going to add a 0. There we go. And also, oops, I'm dragging and dropping without intending to. That can happen. And also, I want to make sure that I center after drift, and I want to evaluate maybe every 10 minutes. So we're going to put every 20 exposures. There we go. I can dismiss the keyboard. And otherwise, we're going to dither every 10 exposures. We're going to loop until the altitude is below 30 degrees. And we're going to take exposure of 30 seconds. Now I can also go back up and say like, okay, when do we want to start? So here I already have a wait for time, astronomical dusk, right? So that's a good thing to have. But maybe I want to add something more. Here at the very bottom, wait for altitude. So I can use tap, tap, hold, and then I can move it to the right area. So here, wait until the altitude. Or even better, I could actually use wait until above horizon. So tap, tap, hold, move it to the right place. Here we go. And I can remove the altitude bit, so I'm going to delete it. And here I'm going to say like, okay, I want to make sure that it's 5 degrees above the horizon. And actually, I'm realizing that I forgot to set up the horizon on this particular instance of N.I.N.A. So I'm going to delete that again and just put wait for altitude, drag it back above autofocus, and say we want to wait until the altitude is above, let's say, 40 degrees. Okay. There we go. Then I just want to go back to my templates, and we want to have the usual basic sequence startup, which I can put in the startup section. So I'll drag up here and say, here it is, basic sequence startup. This will cool my camera and turn on the dew heater as well as unpark the mount. And at the very bottom, we want to go to basic sequence end. So I want to drag that in here. Here we are. And this will warm the camera, turn off the dew heater, and park the telescope. And that's pretty much it. So now if I click play, boom, we're just waiting. N.I.N.A will do everything. I don't need to think about anything at all. Just leave it be, and it's going to do all the work. And that's all there is to it. Sure, it's not as elegant as the ASI Air, but I have done 3-point polar align using this. I have done sequencing using that. I have basically done entire sessions just from my smartphone. And yes, it is. You have to control the cursor. And yes, it's a bit painful to drag and drop. Yes, there are issues, but still, I think it's amazing. And that's basically it for this time. Now, this little setup there will do everything on its own. I can just go inside, drink some wine, have dinner. Everything is going to be okay. But yeah, more important than all of that, don't forget whenever you can to look up at the stars, and I'll see you next time.